We have a war going on in Iran.
Ukraine.
We have...
I might use this as my stage. I'm somebody from Russia. I might use this as my stage. I'm somebody from Iran. I might use this as my stage. I'm somebody from the United States. I might use this as... It's a world stage. It's not an American stage anymore.
Where do you start, or what are some tips that you give folks to start thinking about this? Welcome to the Titan Protection Show. We are doing a special episode on FIFA World Cup 2026. I'm Ryan Smith, here with our Chief of Staff, Josh Leon. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Happy to be here.
Wanted to talk about just security for the World Cup in general. This is, April 5th or 6th? So we're 60 days within this window of the World Cup, and just wanted to make this episode specific to... I'm a business owner, or I work in a business that is going to be somewhat affected by this through, whatever that's extra people, all of the different things that are going on World Cup wise, and wanted to give some people some actionable tips that they could implement and use for theirs. And I think we're going to start with kind of an overview. We found in 1994, we hosted the World Cup. So I wanted to start with what did we learn from that, and then kind of go into, and I think this one being geared around the business that isn't currently using security, or kind of really is starting at ground zero, and some of the complexity there may be who holds the baton on that, who's the person responsible for figuring that piece out.
If I'm ever with a client or a potential client and they don't have a security guy, security girl, they don't have that their face of security, the best person I've always went, give me an operator, give me a facilities operator.
Right.
That just always seems to be the person who knows the heartbeat of the business, of the facility, where they've had problems. It's always some ops guy. You remember Jerry from the libraries, and there was just ops guys work well with security heads. They just do, because they know the day-to-day operations. And so if I'm talking to a business owner who is, for lack of a better term, crapping their pants about the World Cup coming to town, and they don't have a security person, and they want me to talk to somebody, but they have no idea what's going on, I would say, give me your ops guy. Yeah, give me a facilities operator.
I totally agree. And I think that's tip one, or step one, is identify who holds the baton ahead of time, or figuring out you're the point person, you're the project lead on this, you're gathering the information, you're kind of driving it. And then I think you've got some interesting tips for folks beyond that. I wanted to do a quick recap of the 1994 FIFA World Cup, because there was kind of a byline to that I thought could be summed up pretty quickly. 94 was the last time that the United States hosted the World Cup. It was in 9 cities, 52 matches.
80 million
in spend on it.
Security.
And I think that was kind of the key to it, is what they found out was that the ounce of prevention was worth a pound of cure, meaning they had no major incidents, but they really dominated with prevention to say, okay, how do we harden our targets? How do we make it so that people look at this and opt for something different?
Well, boy, man, that's 7 years pre 9/11.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
we're in a different world.
Absolutely.
Well, and that too.
I love the roadmap piece. I'll always use a roadmap.
Sure.
It's always a good thing. But man, the roadmap, that road has changed.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think what's changed is make the plan and work the plan.
Oh,
in the sense of,
of course. Let's get a plan.
Where it's so, and I think that's the big part that we're talking about here. And so we didn't have, now the landscape, to your point, is completely different. Yeah. We've had, we have a war going on in Iran,
Ukraine.
We have, that piece of it. We also have DHS is shut down.
Yeah.
There's some things here that I think, we want to be concerned about.
Security heads are not, when we're looking at this, you're not just protecting an American event, you're protecting an international event.
Right.
So I'm somebody from
different
Ukraine.
Cultures.
I might use this as my stage. I'm somebody from Russia. I might use this as my stage. I'm somebody from Iran. I might use this as my stage. I'm somebody from the United States. I might use this as. It's a world stage. It's not an American stage anymore.
The other piece I wanted to put in there too is if you're a business owner or somebody within a business kind of making these decisions or leading this project, there's going to be very limited resources from. I know the police departments are going to no days off starting in June.
I've heard that.
I think the worry would be, what happens if we dial 911 and need help and there's nobody to come? And that could be from a medical perspective. That could be from a lot of things. So let's paint that picture. You're working in a business that thinks, hey, we're going to have, some impact from this World Cup thing. Where do you start, or what are some tips that you give folks to start thinking about this?
Number one, it's not, Danielle and I have talked about this leading up to this podcast. You're not preparing for one storm. You're preparing for storm season. Right. And it's tornado season in the Midwest where, what do you have? How do you prepare? It's really not that much different. If you and I are running a business downtown, small mom and pop business, even downtown, we probably ought to start thinking about, just normal everyday things. Where are our employees going to park? What happens if they can't get home? Mm-hmm. Do we have cots here? Do we have beds here? What if there's so much traffic our employees can't make it to work? Do we need to be forward thinking about a shuttle process to get to our employees to our place of business? Just because if there's nobody there, and then it's a building. I got it. You want to protect it, but that's what insurance is for. But let's say you can run your business. You might want to plan that your employees might have certain days where they can't make it out.
And do you think that's a realistic possibility? And,
yeah.
And it obviously depends on your geography.
Sure.
Because you're not only talking the games, you're talking about the fan events, the practices, where the players are at.
Yeah.
I mean, these fans.
Yeah. If I'm running a small business downtown and it's one of the 6 game days, I am going to have preparations to my crew can't make it home.
Right.
I just would.
Right.
Because we've done that in the regular security business. I have a quick turnaround. Hey, I'm going to go in the squad room and sleep for a few hours. Yeah. We did that as cops.
Right.
I have to go to court in 4 hours, so I'm going to go sleep down in the gym or in the squad room or whatever. And that's now all of us. Right. That's now, it's not just the security guys and the cops and the nurses and the doctors and the firefighters and EMS. Now it's everybody. Right. You and I are just running a pizza stand down in Westport, and it's game day. You might not get out of there.
Right.
You might, it might be a good idea to have some gear, to have a sleeping bag, a shaving kit, whatever it is that you may need. And then if you're an employer, can you feed your employees? Is there enough, facilities as far as restrooms? Is there a place for them to catch a nap? Is it easier for you to go get them and drop them off and continue to have a person moving around the metro to pick employees up rather than having somebody get bottlenecked or stuck somewhere? There's all kinds of things like that you're going to have to start thinking about.
And I think that's a great point to make, because I think when we're looking at the 1994 World Cup or this, we're talking about not a big incident of mass casualties or something like that. I think the bigger threat here is what you're talking about, is logistics of how are we serving the additional people that we're going to expect? How do we deal with, not the bombing event, but I've got 100 more people here than I thought, or I've got this person that needs to leave and they're just drunk and not, because who is that? If you call the 911 and say, I've got a drunk person in my business, I need help getting them out of there. I think what we're talking about is, what's your plan when they say we'll be there in 3 hours?
Yeah, absolutely. And is it that you went out and got security for these events leading up to it? Is it that you just enhance security that you do have? You already have an officer that works 8 to 5. Hey, let's go ahead and move them to 12s for, the next month. You have camera systems, but you have some blind spots. Maybe we ought to get a camera in here. You have a large open area that could be good for a drone or something like that we can work into the, that security companies can work into the conversation. Police department resources are going to be tapped out. They just are. I think you have to, if we're in Kansas City, we haven't had this, but I would think of how you were affected by the Royals parade. Mm-hmm. I would think of how you were affected by the NFL draft. I would think how you were affected by the Chiefs celebration parades. And I would say you're at least going to have 6 days like that. On game days, you're at least going to have 6 days like that. Right. And
then you're going to have 30 days of just a real big influx of people. And that doesn't mean, that could be Overland Park where the England team is, or I mean, it's going to be pushed around.
I think you're exactly right, and I would say I would prepare for 6 days of the World Series parade, and I would prepare for 30 days of Boulevardia or the St. Patty's Day or something that affects certain areas of the city. And that's, if I'm a business owner, if you and I are running our pizza stand, that's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to have 6 days that are going to be completely nuts. What can we do to be prepared for that? And then we're going to have an overall 30 days where things are going to be a little nuts. Yep. And that's how I would see it.
My overall tips are start planning now.
That's the best tip.
and identify one person to be the project lead on it that drives it. They don't have to be the person that's making all the decisions, but they should be driving this, going, I gathered this info, here's what I think, what do you think? And then, kind of pushing that within an organization.
And if it's not your security guy, get a facilities guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then my next one would be tabletop this and get everybody around a table and say, what concerns us? What do we think our most likely issue is? Because I doubt it's going to be the bomb goes off in your building. I think it's more likely going to be we're over capacity. We have a drunk person that's causing an issue. We need them to leave. Who do we call? I would also not wait if you're thinking about adding additional security measures. We're already getting to a point where resources are thin. I would be planning for that now and figuring out, what do we need as far as extra personnel? Because if you have an issue and are thinking, oh, this thing started and now we've got more people here than we anticipated, there's not going to be many options for help.
Sure. And also as a business owner, as you're doing that initial tabletop, what are your security measures? What are your measures when you're open? What are your measures when you're closed? What are your measures on days off for employees? What are your measures on that? Because, your business isn't going to open if your employees can't get there.
Right.
Your business isn't going to open if you can't get there.
Right.
So let's start there. Let's see. They used to tell us you got to get to the call safely. That way you can't drive like a maniac. You got to get to the call safely. Okay. So we as the big business owners of the pizza place, you and I have to get there safely. We have to know that we're okay and that our employees are okay and that they have a place to go and we can get them back home or we have made accommodations for them. Start there. Start there with that conversation and then talk about the storm that's coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And this is one of those things that you have to kind of get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of not. I've heard it all over the place. I've heard people say this is overblown. It's not going to be anywhere near it. And other people that are, and I think the vibe law enforcement wise has kind of been like, yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Well, think about when we get freaked out about a storm.
Right.
If there's 14 inches of snow coming.
Right.
You probably don't need this many gallons of milk and bread and stuff like that, but people do it anyway.
Right.
All bread's gone, all milk's gone, and because everybody's freaked out about the storm, they're not going to be able to get to the grocery store.
Rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
I got it, and so I would pick the middle. You don't freak out, don't underprepare. Be balanced. And start with the safety and the arrival of your employees and how you're going to take care of your employees if you're running a business down there.
And I think that's the best way to start is get people and just start saying, where do we feel uncomfortable?
Sure.
What are we not thinking about? How do we, and just have the conversation and there is no right answer. I think the right answer is just start talking about it. And
it's a book that both you and I read. It's The Daily Stoic. I think it's Ryan Holiday who wrote it. And somewhere in one of those chapters, they talk about instead of doing a postmortem of what happened after you died, do a premortem.
Right.
What's going to cause us to, so do that premortem, find out what can go wrong. We say it all the time. How are we going to screw this up?
Right.
All right. Start with how are we going to screw this up and work backwards.
And build backwards.
Yeah.
Totally
absolutely.
agree. Well, no, appreciate it. We're going to keep talking about this. We've got a couple of episodes kind of geared towards specifics around the World Cup. Got a lot of experts here, so if anybody has questions, throw them in the comments. Reach out to us. We're happy to have the conversation and guide where we can. Anything we're leaving?
I just keep asking yourself how we're going to screw this up and how do we get better. And I think everybody's going to be just fine. It's going to be a great event.
Got it. I agree. Appreciate it. Any questions, let us know, and we will catch you next time.